Yo, welcome to Alpha Omega University. Welcome back to all of you guys that keep following. Leshero, I appreciate you. 2 months subscribed. This show's been running exactly 2 months today. We started on February 28, I believe, unless it was 27. Something like that. It's been 2 months exactly, and Leshero he already got his 2-month subscription with Prime. This man is on point. I appreciate you all. Listen, real quick. If you guys haven't followed, if you like content, make sure you guys hit the follow. Subscription is not necessary. The content is free, right? The content is free. I want to make sure that the content gets to as many people as possible, to try to teach as many people as possible, to try to spread the wealth of knowledge I've gained over the years, right? And that way we can have better fights out in the open world. Okay, that way we all have a better game to play. But with all that said, in order for me to make this stream possible and make it in a way that is not just boring, where you're kind of just like reading off a damn fucking PowerPoint slide, right? In order to make it seem at least a little bit fun and a little bit, interesting. All those things do take a little bit of money, right? And so the subscriptions, they help me basically repay all that stuff. So I definitely appreciate you guys supporting the channel. So if you want to, go ahead and subscribe. If you don't want to or you can't, that's no problem. The content is free, but at least the follow tells me that you're enjoying the content, or at the very minimum that you're learning something from it, right? And that's what keeps me going, right? That I know that you guys are actually learning from it. That it's not just that I'm just talking to a fucking wall and then nobody's actually like learning anything. Like that would be real lame, right? But anyway, we're doing great so far. We have over 200 followers. I announced that last stream, and I'm very happy with it. Let's keep it going. We're going into our third month here of rolling this stream. All right, and I've had a lot of fun with it. Anyway, today we're talking about melee burst DPS. We're doing episode 17, melee burst DPS. Now, some people in the chat earlier were talking, and I'm only gonna explain this right now because when I upload the videos onto YouTube and stuff, I end up cutting out the beginning and the end, just so that you guys don't have to sit through 10 minutes of like watching nothing, right? While the stream is getting ready. So I try to cut the beginning and end. That way you guys can just watch what when the stream goes live, and that's great. But before the stream started, we were talking back and forth with a few people, and I found out that apparently there's an issue with Sigma. Apparently, that Sigma is no longer giving up-to-date information. So that is a piece of news that I think you guys might want to know when you guys are looking at, the players and stuff. If you have no idea what Sigma is, don't even worry about it. But a lot of people use it, especially for recruiting players, to find out their guild histories and things like that, right? So I like it. I actually have it linked on my Twitch as well for my personal account, like my Sigma history, so you guys can see. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible, right? But yeah, if it's not working, I mean, that kind of sucks. We also had some questions about what weapons we're going to be covering today, and one of the questions was about halberds and clarion blades and things like that, right? Those are bruiser weapons, and those are in episode 16. We did that episode last week. So if you missed it, it is uploaded on YouTube. You can watch it there. If you are on YouTube, make sure you guys hit the like button. I appreciate it a lot. But yeah, it's up there. It's episode 16, melee, melee dot DPS, melee damage over time. Okay. But today we're talking about melee burst DPS. So we're going to be talking about, they were asking about what weapons and stuff. Now, in the last episode, which was melee dot DPS, we talked about a lot of different weapons, and there's a weapon that actually is gonna be part of both. It was in the last episode, but it's also going to be in this episode. Okay, that's the Kingmaker, and that's because the Kingmaker, as it is right now, can actually play as both burst, and it could also be played as damage over time. All right, we'll go into it, why, and all those things, and I'll show you some videos of some people. We got some really good videos today. I didn't get to go through all of them. Again, I pulled these videos out a few months ago, and so I didn't get to see all of them again before, you know, we put them live, but I know the first few videos that we're gonna analyze are gonna be really good, man. So just to give you guys a snippet, we're gonna be talking about Galatines, Kingmaker, Roundbreaker, Raven Strike, Spike Gloves, Demon Fang, and Bridal Fury. So if you've watched all the other episodes of this series where we're talking about the different roles and different weapons and all that stuff, then you realize that today is a kind of a packed episode, right? We got a lot of weapons. Almost every other episode we've been doing like 3, 4, maybe 5 weapons, right? This episode's got like 7 weapons, right? We're not going to go through every single weapon in extreme detail, but we will try to go through especially the ones that are used the most. So like Kingmaker is getting used a lot, so we're going to talk about that quite a bit. We're going to talk about Demon Fang for sure. We're going to focus on that for sure. Galatines has always been a staple, right? Although it's never been used in mass, it's been used for a long period of time, and so I think that it's definitely a weapon we got to spend some time in. When we're looking at so just for the people that haven't watched the other episodes in this series, the way we do it, the first half of the episode is focused just on the the gear and tips on how to play the weapons and what Q, W, E, well, the E you can't pick, but what Q and what W you can use for these weapons, what you should be using, things like that. And then I give you some tips about, positioning and when to go in, when to not, things like that. And at the very end, the second half of the episode, we're going to be talking about, we're going to be doing an analysis on certain videos, right? So it's a little bit of a VOD review, but it's not complete and total like a VOD review Monday, because VOD review Monday, we actually go into the nitty gritty of stuff, right? Like we look at every individual detail. For these series, we kind of just look at broad things and we kind of just use it as an example. Either way, we do look at VOD review in the sense of like what things you could be doing better and things like that, but we don't get so deep into it because we're kind of just giving you a frame of reference, right? And as always, I am looking at the chat. So if you guys got any questions about anything, what we're talking about, or any questions that you want to talk about, whatever question, it doesn't matter. You can drop it in the chat. I am looking. Let me catch up on chat here real quick. I'll be asking your thoughts on Tenacity versus Cleric Robe, so expect that as a discussion point. 2% says, Tenacity, you're talking about the Jacket of Tenacity? It's good. We'll talk about it a little bit. Yeah, we can talk about it a little bit, but later when we're talking about the armors. You know what? Let me add it in because that is a change that just happened and I haven't added it in. But I will... Tenacity. All right. Yeah, but I will definitely... I'll definitely touch on that because you're right. It is a good point to talk about, and I do think that the Jacket of Tenacity is actually pretty good. Jotita says that fight on video was today, right? To be honest, man, I don't know. Yes, I think this one was today. I think this one was today, 18 UTC, but I'm not 100% sure. All the videos that you guys are watching are always in the last 2-3 days. Okay, unless it's like the video from like Saturdays, like a stream on Saturdays, that usually is just like whatever I can find within the last week, because I tend to put out all the videos on Fridays, right? So I don't want to show you guys the same videos, so I try to get new ones, and usually that means I have to go back a few extra days. Luis, no, en el stream no hablo en español, amigo. Pero algún día sí voy a empezar a hacer un stream en español, pero yo creo que en unos meses todavía no. He's asking if I can speak Spanish, because there's some guys that I know from the Spanish guilds and stuff, cool guys and everything, but yeah, so he's asking like if I can talk in Spanish and stuff, and the thing is like I will actually eventually. I'm already planning on adding more days to the stream. Okay, that's coming, but it's not coming in the next 2-3 months. It's happening after that, right? But when it does happen, I think eventually I will be doing 1 day stream where it's gonna be all Spanish, right? So that way, I can kind of give to that other community as well, because I do speak English and Spanish, so might as well, be able to do both. But for now, yeah, for a few months, you guys are stuck with English only, so. I'm sorry. If you guys have questions, though, the Spanish speakers, if you don't understand something, you guys send me a message on Discord. I'll talk to you guys after the stream for sure. I have no problem with that. I have no problem with that. Sí, en español, algún día voy, como en 4 meses más o menos, 2 a 4 meses voy a hacer una stream cada semana en español. All right, so before I get into the actual episode, I do want to make an announcement. There's two announcements. Number one, tomorrow there is no stream. I know that, you know what, I'm gonna pull up the stream here. All right, so here's the schedule. All right, so here's the schedule. It's the same schedule you guys have been looking at for 2 months, right? We are right now on the 28th, so we're in episode 17, Millie Burst DPS. We're in the right-hand column towards the middle bottom there. And then tomorrow, it's supposed to be episode 18, Support DPS. Now, we're not actually going to be doing an episode tomorrow. Okay? Tomorrow I have a family event, so I had to change the schedule. But so essentially, there's no episode tomorrow. Okay, there's no episode tomorrow. That episode is going to happen on Monday. That's going to be May 1st. Okay, so instead of VOD review that day, on Monday, we're going to be doing episode 18. And then that Friday, we're doing episode 19, which is going to be Healers. This is like 1 week from today. Okay, exactly a week from today. And then after that, there's no schedule. I am still working on the schedule. I promise you I will have it up before Friday next week. Okay, I already have all the titles for all the episodes. I'm still working on writing them. Okay, but that's the second announcement. Is I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a little tease as to what episodes we're gonna be having in the next set of 2.5 months or so. Yeah, it's about 2.5 months. In the next set of about 2.5 months worth of episodes. There's a few episodes already that I've already written. There's some that I still have to write. It's still a work in progress, but essentially we're gonna be doing. If you guys remember, there was an episode back in like episode 6 or episode 5. It was called Calling Styles. Now that episode, I told you guys about the 5 or 6 different styles in which callers call, right? And I told you guys about the strategies of like the tsunami strategy where you kind of just flood the enemy, right? The crescent pressure, the sword engages, things like that, right? All those strategies, we're gonna have one episode individually for each one of those strategies, okay? Because those strategies are very, very, very complex, and I want to make sure that you guys are able to learn those strategies, because even if you're not a caller, understanding what the enemy is doing is gonna help you a lot. All right. I am also gonna be doing, by popular demand, because a lot of people have requested this, I'm gonna be doing an episode on castle sieges. Okay, so that's coming. I don't have an exact date on it yet, so I can't tell you, but it's definitely going to be in the next schedule, which is going to be in the next 2.5 months. Okay, so there's going to be an episode on castle sieges, and that's going to include both types of castles. I'm also going to be doing an episode, a different episode, a separate episode on territory sieges. All right, and that's also going to include both types of territories. And we'll basically talk about how to siege those castles, as well as how to defend them. Okay, so we're going to be looking at it from both perspectives. We're going to be doing an episode on battle mounts. I know some people were requesting that. We're doing an episode on battle mounts. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to give you guys too much information, but essentially those are the big episodes that most people were requesting to have, but there's a lot of other really, really good episodes that are going to be coming in the next schedule. So just stay tuned for that. If you want to see when I release the schedule, I'm gonna ping on Discord when I release the schedule. So you know, just go on the schedule. Make sure you're on the Discord server. If you scroll down, if you're on YouTube, you can scroll down. It's gonna be in the description. All right, the link to the Discord server. If you're on Twitch, then you can just scroll down on Twitch on the About Me section. It should be there. There's a link to the Discord as well. So yeah, let me catch up here, and then we'll get started. Not sure if I mentioned it or not. Tanliana. Oh, you guys are talking to each other. All right, that's fine. I thought you guys were talking to me. All right. So, let's get on with it. Let me drink some water because we got to stay hydrated. That was a lot of that was a big speech at the beginning, man. We had to get through all that. It took us a while, but it's okay. All right. So, the first weapon we're going to talk about is Galatin Pair. All right. Galatin Pair so all the burst weapons, right? They're all melee and they're all burst weapons. And so Guillotine Pair is one of the oldest weapons that has been kind of meta for a very, very long time. For as far as I can remember, to be honest, it's always been in ZvZs in some shape or form. It's never been a staple of an entire Zerg. Like, it's never been the thing that like, oh, like, that's the main DPS. Like right now, the main DPS is Demon Fang, right? It's also now it's starting to become Siege Bow, but that takes time to switch, right? At some point, it was Brimstone, things like that. So Guillotine has never really been the staple of the Zergs, okay? It's never really been that big piece. However, Guillotine Pair has always been a part of Zergs, and it's because the burst damage that it does in the AoE radius, I believe it's like 9 meters, right? It's fucking huge, okay? If it's not 9 meters, it's 8. Either way, it's huge, right? Because if you think about this, okay, a lot of people don't understand the difference between like a 7-meter radius weapon versus like an 8-meter radius weapon. All right, a 7-meter radius weapon versus an 8-meter radius weapon is not just, oh well, you're just adding 1 meter. That's not that big a deal. It's a huge deal because 8-meter radius is literally 33% bigger than a 7-meter radius weapon. All right, so basically, it's hard to know the radius though. No, I mean, it says it on the weapon. It says it on the weapon, for at least for Guillotine. Not all weapons say it, but Guillotine does say it. Now, the only thing about Guillotine is that it does have its gaps, right? So, like, it's like a weird, funky gaps. But to be honest, like, anybody who's around you is going to get hit 9 times out of 10. Unless they happen to stand on that one fucking pixel that doesn't allow them to get hit. Like, that's kind of luck. Oh, it's hard to figure out how much 9 meters is. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. Let's put it that way. So a Camlan is 8 meters. Okay, a Camlan is 8 meters. So, oh, you're talking about the screen. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think 8 meters is about half your screen, if not 40% of your screen. Like if you put it in the center of the screen, yeah, I think that it's about like 40% of your screen, if not 50% of your screen. Of like the total like square of your screen, like the rectangle of your screen, right? So it's huge. That's my point. And so because the Guillotine has been huge, AoE always, it always has had a huge impact because it's always going to escalate damage a lot, okay? It's similar to the reason that I was pushing Siege Bow for a long time, right? It's because Siege Bow has a huge AoE area, huge AoE radius where it actually shoots and it hits a lot of people no matter in what direction you're shooting that shit in. So Guillotine is similar because Guillotine is such a huge AoE that no matter where you hit it, you're gonna hit a shitload of people. And if you hit a shitload of people, then what's gonna happen by default is that you're gonna escalate a lot of damage, and then with that, you're gonna end up getting the kills, right? Now, on top of that, the Guillotine kit, so the sword, I should say, the sword kit helps the Guillotine achieve its goals very, very, very well. So with the Q, what you're usually running, I mean, it's the AoE, the regular AoE, Q that gives you the heroic charges, right? The charges. So that AoE Q is actually a decent size, right? Like it's not too small, is what I'm saying. Like there are some Qs that are a little too small and they would kind of like make it harder, but Guillotine is actually a pretty, like the sword Q is actually pretty big. So it's good. And it built up the charges really fast, okay? On top of building up the charges really fast, you have a W, which is Iron Will. And Iron Will is insane because it makes you unpurgeable. Now, the only thing that will make the Guillotine E do very little damage is if you don't hit with stacks, if you hit with like no stacks, right? So Iron Will is so incredibly important because what Iron Will does, oh, you know what? Let me switch back to the video. Sorry, I kept you guys on that other screen. So, yeah, so the Iron Will is gonna make you unpurgeable. Okay, so you can't get your stacks purged. You can't get anything purged. It's not just your stacks, you can't get anything purged. So that means that if you go and stack a Royal Hood, for example, okay, then you're going to make sure that you're actually going to hit with that Royal Hood, whatever the stacks you get on it. So Iron Will, yeah, like Tuper saying, Iron Will is OP. Yeah, it really is, right? Because it makes you unpurgeable. That's insane. I don't think there's anything else in the game that makes you unpurgeable, unless I'm not remembering something that's like really obvious right now. But like off the top of my head, I can't remember right now anything that makes you unpurgeable. Knight armor channel, yeah, but like things that are not channeled, right? Like things that are channeled, I mean, yeah, okay, like they're uninterruptible technically. It's not necessarily you're not purgeable. But yeah, the W is crazy, right? So on top of making you unpurgeable, it also gives you one stack. So what I'm saying is that you, with the Q, you go and stack twice, and then you use your Iron Will the third time. So then that way you become unpurgeable and you get that third stack. So it makes it much easier to hit, right? So the E itself, the damage of the E itself is actually massive with 3 stacks. On top of the damage being massive, it has a huge AoE radius. Okay, so this is why the Galatine has always been very, very powerful. And I'll tell you the truth, we cannot talk about Galatines, right, without talking about one of the people that have literally made Galatines the absolute killer that it is, right? And that is Blue Dawn, right? Blue Dawn, if you don't know who that is, Blue Dawn has played for a very long time, and this man basically made the, you know, like the how do I say this, the strategy and the gear sets that you would wear for running Galatine pair, right? It's massive, massive, massive. Okay, so Blue Dawn, amazing with the Galatines, and we're gonna look at 2 videos of him using Galatines, and we're gonna look at the things that he uses and the way he plays the Galatines, so that way we can learn from him and get better at Galatines ourselves. But I know a lot of people don't like Galatine players because they say that Galatine players are off cooldown clappers. Now, it's correct. They are off cooldown clappers because it's very, very hard for them to actually hit on cooldown, which means like if I'm the caller and I say, all right, get ready to engage northeast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, hit him northeast, right? If I say that, that is not enough time for the Galatines to stack up all his Qs and get in position to be able to hit that E exactly where it's needed, okay? It's just too slow for that. But if you get really, really, really good at it, we'll see some videos. Blue Dawn actually hits on the clap, usually within a couple seconds of the call. And that's because he's really good. But don't expect that to be the case with all players that play Galatine, because that is not what's going to happen. The majority of players that play Galatines will be much slower than Blue Dawn is, and they will not hit on cooldown. Here's why a lot of people don't like Galatine. Because with the Galatine, you're going to hit off cooldown, so people think, well, if you're not going to hit the clap that I'm calling you to hit, then why do I need you as a DPS? And I think that's very wrong, because there is a strong usage to having off cooldown clappers. And what I mean by that is any clappers that are hitting while the enemy is either, you know, trying to catch up on heals after your entire engage hit, or whenever the enemy is like backing up, or maybe even spreading out, or like trying to like reposition to a better angle, okay? Or maybe they happen to be walking through a tight choke and the rest of your Zerg is just not ready to hit that fucking choke. But you as a Galatine, you are, and guess what? You hit that fucking choke. Maybe you don't get kills, but that's not even your goal as a Galatine player. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh, no, you want to get kills. No, I mean, listen, obviously you want to get kills. I mean, if you can get kills, get the fucking kills, right? But what I'm saying is that you don't have to, because, and they're saying it in the chat right now, right? Off cooldown clappers are so good at baiting defensives, and that's what it is right there, right? That's what it is, because a Galatine pair will come in, one guy by himself will come in and fucking clap, and now suddenly the entire fucking Zerg has to stop what they're doing so that the healers can heal the people back up, and then all the supports can try to fucking drop Judicator armors and Demon armors, and everybody's trying to like freak the fuck out, right? All of that cleanses everything, all because some fucking guy went and clapped and did a shitload of damage. And it doesn't even matter that you didn't get kills, right? The kills are the cherry on top for the Galatine pairs, right? They are not necessarily the center of it. Now, a really, 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 really good Galatine pair user like Blue Dawn, right, will get the fucking kills, right? On top of doing everything I'm saying, they will get the kills. And what I'm saying is that Galatine pair is so strong that not only can they do all of that and screw with the enemy defensives and their heals and their positioning, not only can they do all of that, they can also get kills on their own, right? So this is massive. This is incredibly massive. Jotita says it's the psychological gameplay. Absolutely, man. Because you see a fucking Galatine pair come in, and everybody in the fucking Discord is gonna be like, Gala's coming in, Gala's. You know, everybody freaks the fuck out. And you know why? It's because it's so scary, because you know that one really fucking good Galatine hit can change the entire battle, right? So Galatine pair is so incredibly important, and Zergs that don't run any Galatine pair, I think, are doing themselves a disservice, right? I think every Zerg in the game should run at least one Galatine pair player that just claps off cooldown or does whatever the fuck they want to do, as long as they're learning and they're getting better and they're not just inting for no reason, right? As long as they're proving that they're, you know, they're trying and they're doing better and they're working on it, then I'm telling you, man, Blue Dawn on his own has carried so many fights, like 100+ people fights. He on his own has carried fights left and right. I promise you, because that's what the Galatine pair can do in the hands of somebody that knows what they're doing, right? And I think it's an 8.5 meter radius, by the way. So if you think about it, the air compress is 7 meter radius, right? 8.5 meter is like 50% bigger than that. All right. So essentially, think about how big the AOE of the fucking of the air compress is. Add 50% to that shit. Okay, that's how big the damn Galatine pair is. Radius is. Okay, it's huge. It's huge. Now, let's move on to the next one. We're going to talk about Kingmaker now. And just like with Galatine pair, I talked about Blue Dawn, saying that he had a huge impact on the makings of Galatine, right? And rising it up to what it is, okay? When we talk about Kingmaker, we cannot talk about Kingmaker without talking about a guy named Lolly, right? L7AWLI, all right? Lolly is a guy in Militant. He is the one that basically made Kingmaker into an actual acceptable meta that people are actually like, oh yeah, Kingmaker's good. Before him, everybody was like, Kingmaker's garbage. Nobody played it. Nobody was playing it. If there was people playing it, they sucked with it. They didn't do anything with it. He basically made it mainstream to the point where Kingmaker's now acceptable in most guilds. And I say most because it's not there yet. It's not there yet. But I'm telling you, Kingmaker is amazing. It's very, very, very strong. Okay? What you run with the Kingmaker is essentially the same Q and W as the Galatine, because you're also trying to get those stacks, right? Now, with the E, you have a burst damage, but it's a lower damage than the Galatine pair, and it's also a smaller AoE. But the cooldown is much less. It's only 20 seconds, right? And that's the strength of the Kingmaker. So the way I view Kingmaker, the way if you play it like a burst DPS, and if you want to know about the Kingmaker and how you play it as a bruiser type, because you can, I talked about that in the last episode, it's episode 16. You can look at that, right? Well, today we're looking at melee burst. And so to use the Kingmaker as melee burst, you have to look at it as a mini Galatine pair, okay? The way you use it is you go in and you're clapping constantly off cooldown. The enemy is rotating, they're moving around, they're changing position, they're whatever. Anytime they clump on their own, just drop your fucking E on them, because you're gonna have that cooldown back in 20 seconds, right? Now, whether you run things like pork omelet or you run like a stew to give you more damage, whatever, that's gonna change things up, right? Like if you use an omelet, you're gonna run like a 17-second cooldown, so you can hit even more often, but obviously it's not gonna hit as much as if you run a stew, right? So those are the little changes you can make and kind of play around with what feels good to you, right? But at the end of the day, Kingmaker could be played as a burst that is off cooldown. Okay, that is off cooldown, and it's gonna constantly hit the enemy, but it still has enough punch where you can use it on cooldown. Not only that, the Kingmaker E hits very quickly. And there's another thing that I found out about the Kingmaker E. Now, I haven't properly tested this, but this is kind of what the numbers were showing, but I didn't actually like I didn't confirm this, is what I should say. I didn't confirm this. If any of you wants to try this out and confirm it, then go ahead and let me know the results. I would love it. But from what I saw, from what I've seen, looking at this weapon and kind of seeing the way it works, the Kingmaker, actually, the E hits twice, right? The first E, it's like a little knock up around, you know, in a radius around the character. And then the second hit of the E hits the damage straight forward and straight behind the Kingmaker player, okay? Now, when it comes to escalation damage, okay? Because escalation damage is counted based on how many players you're hitting at the same time. For some reason, it appears, and I say it appears because I'm not 100% sure, but I'm like 90% sure this is exactly what's happening, okay? When you hit that first E, right, the first hit of the E, right, with the Kingmaker, all those people that get hit around the character are added to the total count of the actual E, including the second E. So what I'm saying is, if you're gonna hit 4 people in the first like hit of the E in Kingmaker, and then you're gonna and then the actual hit of the like the big E, the second hit of the E, right, the one that hits forward and hits back. If you only hit, say, 3 people, let's say those 3 people were the same 3 people inside of that 4 group, they're all gonna get hit as if you hit 4 people. Even though that 4th person didn't actually get hit in the big hit, it only got hit in that initial hit in the beginning. Does that make sense? Like, I know it's confusing. I don't know how better to explain it. It's a really odd thing. But basically, the Kingmaker hits twice, and everybody that gets hit by either the first or second hit gets added to the escalation mechanic. Okay, that's actually huge, because the actual E that does damage only hits forward and back. The first E that just knocks people up doesn't do much damage. Okay, so what you really want is to hit the people forward and back as hard as possible, and those people are getting hit by how many people you hit forward and back, plus how many people you hit around you with the first hit. So all the escalated damage is always really high because of that. So yeah, I don't know if that's a feature or a glitch. I don't know, but whatever it is, I mean, it's making Kingmaker very, very powerful right now. Jotita says people have to be more aware of those types of players. Yeah, the off cooldown players you're talking about. Yeah, absolutely. You got to be more aware because they can clap you at any point in time, and that's what makes them scary, right? Tooper says, I think for Kingmakers, better run Deadwater EO Stew so that you can fit both Brawl and off cooldown clap. Like I said, you have to play with it, right? I mean, everybody runs different things. And it kind of comes down to what you personally prefer to do with the Kingmaker. Like I said, Kingmaker, you can play clap, you can play off cooldown, you can play you can play Bruiser. There's so many ways you can play the Kingmaker. That's why it's so good. It's so versatile, right? And so what food you use is going to obviously impact how you end up playing it. The next weapon we're going to talk about is the Realm Breaker. Now, with the Realm Breaker, you're going to want to use the 3rd Q, okay? Because the Q stacks don't matter too much with the Realm Breaker, because you're trying to more so get your damage in, okay? And the 3rd Q has a root, okay? And that root is pretty strong. It's pretty good. So yeah, I mean, it's not huge. It's not amazing, but you know, it's a Q, whatever, right? A little root helps out. So the W, what you want to do with the W, usually you'll want to run Adrenaline Boost. Now, Adrenaline Boost gives you 25% more damage and 40% move speed. So it allows you to run faster at the enemy and allows you to get more damage onto the enemy for your E. Now, your E got reduced from 20% HP reduction to 15% HP reduction, but that's still big. I mean, a weapon that is reducing the enemy's health by 15% is effectively adding on to everybody else's damage, and it's not by 15%. It's by more than that. It's like 20-something percent. But I didn't do the actual math for it. It's more because you're taking away. Anyway, whatever. So my point is, 15% HP reduction of the enemy is actually increasing everybody else's damage. So you can kind of think of it as a pierce. However, the E itself actually does quite a bit of damage. Now, when you add the adrenaline boost to it, 25% more damage is actually strong. Okay, so you can actually use the Realm Breaker as a full-blown clap weapon. The only thing is you can't use too many of them because remember, part of the Realm Breaker's usage is the pierce, and it doesn't stack. You're not going to reduce the enemy's HP 15% over and over and over and over, right? It only reduces one time and that's it. It doesn't stack. So what you want to do is essentially you don't want to run more than like one Realm Breaker per party. And I think with that you have plenty of burst. You have plenty of pierce HP reduction with it. You don't need more than that. If in every party you have one Realm Breaker, and that guy in every single party can't hit the clump, then I think you just got to get new people to play Realm Breaker. I don't think it's a problem with having more. You don't need more. But essentially, that's what you want to run. The adrenaline boost is strong. It's a strong W. And then the E itself is strong, plus it has that pierce, right? So it is good. 2% says, I don't personally consider Realm Breaker to be DPS weapon. I consider it more like debuff pierce. It's definitely big damage, but I don't think it's really in Zerg for the clap. So I understand what you're saying. But if you're using it how I'm telling you right here, I promise you the damage it puts out is very strong. Okay? I promise you it's very strong. Like the damage it actually does is huge. Yeah, it recently got nerfed. I know. It recently got nerfed. I know. The damage is still huge, man. Okay? I'm not talking about the debuff. I'm talking about the damage. Okay? Because you have to realize that the damage is actually put out after the HP reduction. Okay, so what happens is your damage is not just boosted by that 15% HP reduction, but it's also boosted by the adrenaline boost 25% if you're running that W, plus any other buffs that you might want to run on the weapon to make it even more deadly. It's huge. At the end of the day, it's a pierce, right? You're right, it's a pierce. It's like Spirit Hunter, not really that good at debuff, but really good at damage. I mean, the Spirit Hunter is a good pierce, but yes, the point is that it can do both, and that's my point. It does enough damage where it does qualify as burst if you play it the right way. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that it does more damage than the Gala team. Fuck no, absolutely not. It brings something else to your table. It's the pierce. The pierce is the strength of it, right? But either way, it does enough damage where it is burst. It really does feel like burst. And also the E is very quick, right? The E is very, very fast. So it's not like you got to sit there and channel like a Brimstone or even a Siege Bow. The E is actually pretty fast, pretty quick, and it hits hard. And that's a really important piece because nowadays it's like clumps happen and then they disappear, right? Clumps don't stay clumped very often. And so because of that, you need weapons that are quick, and Realm Breaker is quick. All right, so the next one is going to be Raven Strike. So the Raven Strike, I know some people are like against it now. They think it sucks. They don't think it's great, whatever. Listen, the truth is, like, I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, okay? Like, absolutely, completely, brutally honest. I personally don't think any of the gauntlets are actually good for ZvZ, okay? And you guys can fucking talk all your shit you want, but the problem I have with the gauntlets is that all the Qs and all the Ws are basically useless for ZvZ. They give you mobility. Great. I'm glad you have mobility. How the fuck does that help when the enemy's trying to flood me and killing our fucking healers and shit? How the hell is that gonna help me? It doesn't do any damage. Your triple kick doesn't do any damage. Any of that, right? Your Q, your Dragon Leap shit doesn't do any damage, okay? I'm sorry, but it's the truth, okay? So if you have shitty Qs and Ws, then you don't really have a strong weapon here, right? Now, what I will say is that the E's for a lot of the gauntlets are actually pretty decent. And that's why we're going to talk about Raven Strike and we're going to talk about Spiked, okay? But regardless of the E's being strong, they don't have a complete kit because the Qs and Ws are pretty useless, okay? They don't help too much. Now, when it comes to the Raven Strike specifically, the E is strong. People say, oh no, it's not strong, it's this, it's that, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Listen, the E is strong. And I'll tell you why. Because it fits a very similar role to Galatine. Okay? Galatine, you see it come in and you're like, oh my god, you freak out, and then the damage hits, right? Raven Strike, you're gonna see the damage coming in as well. That motherfucker's channeling for like 2 years, right? He's putting his arms up and walking around like 50% speed for like an hour, you know, and then he finally hits his E, right? Here's the thing. You need to look at Raven Strike differently, okay? Raven Strike E damage is actually good, but that's not the strength of the Raven Strike E. The strength of Raven Strike E is that it actually creates an area of denial for the enemy. If you see a Raven Strike channeling his fucking E towards you, you want to get the hell away from it, right? I don't care if it doesn't do that much damage. If you're like, oh yeah, that's not going to do that much damage, you're still not going to stand in it because you don't want to wait and find out if it does too much damage, do you? Right? You'd rather just not get hit. So what you're going to do is you're going to try to walk away from that giant ass fucking circle because it's 9 meters. Okay, it's huge. On top of it, it's uninterruptible. So no matter what you do, you can't stop the dude. Okay? That's the strength of Raven Strikes. Now, I'm not saying, oh yeah, everybody should be running Raven Strike. No. But I'm saying that area denial actually is very strong in ZvZ because it forces the enemy to respond to that. It makes them walk away from an area. If a Zerg is saying, like if a caller is saying, yo, push through this choke right now. Go through it, engage through the choke, go. And then you fucking see a Raven Strike walking into that choke. An enemy Raven Strike walking into that choke. Don't tell me you're not going to wait till his fucking E goes off before you walk into that choke. Hell no. You're going to stand back, right? You're going to stand back and wait till his E finishes and then walk through. So suddenly, it just forced you to not walk through that area for a second and a half, whatever it is, right? Now, if you do decide to run in there anyway, then you're taking the chances that that damage is not going to hit you hard. And guess what? The Raven Strike E damage is actually decent. It's not great. I'm not going to say it's great, but it's decent. It's decent enough to the point where it makes people not want to get hit, right? So it creates an area of denial, and that's the strength of the Raven Strike, okay? We need to, again, I stress this over and over and over. We need to stop criticizing weapons simply because they don't do damage. Like DPS weapons. We should stop criticizing DPS weapons because they don't do as much damage as this other weapon. You need to analyze them for what things that they actually bring to the table. Okay? Again, like I told you, completely straightforward. I don't think any gauntlets are that good at ZvZ. Okay? But I think Raven Strike is good for area denial, right? That's my main argument here with the Raven Strike. Let me see. Hold on. Also, not gonna lie about Round Breaker. Tupper says Round Breaker has a move speed boost and a dash, so it's really easy to hit. Yeah, that's the point, Tupper. Is that it's very easy to hit. It's very easy to hit. The Round Breaker is. All good, Dennis. All good. Appreciate you, man. The fuck noob says the Setus still stack. I don't know. I don't know. I assume it does. But it's just not like, I tested all of the gauntlets a while ago, and to be honest, man, none of them feel good except for a few of them. I know a lot of people are running what is it called? The Ursine Maulers. I know a lot of people are running Ursine Maulers. The damage it does is it's so minimal. It's so minimal, right? And on top of it, again, the QNW is just useless. Like, great, I have mobility. Look how cool I look kicking people around. Like, okay, great. But it doesn't bring that much to the table. That's my point. All those weapons, they don't bring much to the table. The next weapon we're going to talk about is Spike Gloves, right? The Spike Gauntlet. So, the Spike, again, the Q and the W, whatever, right? But let's just focus on the E. The Spike is actually a very strong weapon. And the reason it's a strong weapon is because of its specialty. And the specialty that it does is that it fucks over tanks. Okay? Now, as much as you might think, oh, well, Spike Gloves aren't that good and whatever, it's like, well, Kelron, you keep saying all these weapons suck. Listen, They're not great, but they are good for these specialty tasks, right? So if you incorporate a little bit of these things into your Zerg, you're gonna realize how useful they become. When you have a group of spike gloves, like let's say you add 1 spike glove per party, okay? And let's say you have 3 parties. Suddenly 3 spike gloves are all gonna hit the tanks, the enemy tanks in the front. And they have a low cooldown. They have a very low cooldown E, okay? So anytime a tank is overextending or a tank is trying to disengage your Zerg, those spike gloves are just like, okay, this guy dies. Boom, they pop him, and they're gonna do so much fucking damage to that one tank and kill them most of the time. How do I know this? Because I usually play fucking tank, and I hate when enemies have fucking spike gauntlets. You understand? Spike doesn't stack anymore. Stack in how long? Stack in how long? You got the knight here. But 1 is enough to fuck you. Yeah, I mean, the damage is great. Now, I don't know about the stacking. I've heard about that. I've heard about it. Here's the problem with the stacking features is that the amount of time. So they say 1 second in between. Yeah, so here's the thing, right? If you're running only 1 per party, okay? Unless those people are coordinating together, they usually won't hit at the same exact time at the same place. The thing that you have to tell these spike gloves, and again, this is why people don't like them, right? Because they're not playing on cooldown. Because I'm not telling you guys to use the spike gloves on cooldown. I'm not saying when the caller engages, you go and engage with him on cooldown and hit the clump. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that basically off cooldown, when the enemy has tanks coming inside of you, you drop your E on them, right? Wait your 20 seconds, reset it, walk up to the enemy, drop it on another tank. What you're doing is you're forcing those tanks to walk back into their own lines. Basically, you're forcing them to fuck off, right? And that is very strong because forcing an enemy tank to walk back into their own lines is going to cause your Zerg, the rest of your DPS, to have an easier time to engage the enemies when the call is made because the enemy tanks are not in your face, okay? But even with the stacking feature, yes, of course, that you're right, it's a limiting thing, but I don't think it's a complete thing that just pushes off spike gauntlets, right? I have heard about the stack mechanic and everything. Like I said, I still think it's good. It's just that you have to play it differently. And that right there is the reason that a lot of people don't like these weapons, is because you have to play them differently. A lot of people right now, especially right now, more than ever, the meta right now in the game is literally kill, and that's it, right? Get a bunch of damage on, and then that's it. Everybody's gonna run glass cannon builds. We're not gonna care about survivability. We're just gonna go and try to kill people, right? And the thing is that is not the only way to play. There are a lot of weapons that bring a lot to the table that need to be talked about for what they bring to the table, okay? And that's the point. Pop the Stalker Jackets. Yeah, I mean, Stalker Jacket's another one, right? It's good damage. I'm not going to say it's not. It's good damage. But then you don't have survivability. Then you don't have survivability because you're substituting that for Hellion Jacket. And that's your survivability, right? So that's my point. Anyway, let's move it on. The next one, we're going to talk about Bridal Fury, all right? Now, Bridal Fury and Demon Fang, we're going to talk about both of them. But so basically for the Q and W for daggers, right? For Demon Fang and Bridal Fury. What you have, the Q, Deadly Swipe, it increases your damage a little bit, but that's not a big deal. What it does is it gives you a little bit of a mobility, right? And that mobility is actually pretty useful to get you in and out of the enemy because you are melee and you're usually going to stand inside the enemy for a little bit. So it's good. The W, you're usually going to run like Throwing Blades, right? And Throwing Blades is going to increase your damage, but it also increases your move speed, right? And that is going to be very helpful for your E. So see how I'm talking about the daggers versus the gauntlets. I said the gauntlets give you mobility, but that's it. Now, when you look at the daggers, Q and W, they both give you mobility and damage, right? So on top of giving you mobility, like the gauntlets, they give you damage as well. Now, the gauntlets give you better mobility, but it doesn't matter. I mean, you only need so much damage in this game, right? You only need so much mobility in this game, right? At a certain point, you have so much mobility, you don't even care, right? And that's my point. So when looking at the Bridal Fury, a lot of people don't like Bridal Fury. Here's the thing. Bridal Fury has 75% resilience penetration, okay? I believe it's the only weapon with 75% at this point. At least any of the DPS, Zerg, ZvZ viable weapons that have 75%. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the only weapon that has 75% resilience penetration, which means it's very, very, very strong for large scale ZvZ. It's less strong for small scale ZvZ, but it is very strong for large scale ZvZ. Now, the thing about the E for the Bridal is that on top of it being a burst quick damage, the AoE is okay. It's not huge, it's not small, but it's okay. On top of it being that, it also knocks you back, right? You jump backwards, and that allows you to stay safe. So essentially, it's kind of like a de facto melee kind of ranged, because you hit and then you jump right back, right? So it kind of gets you out of that clump as quickly as possible. That's very, very important. Plus, the resilience penetration ensures that the damage is going to be good. A lot of people don't like Bridal Fury, but I'm telling you guys, like, personally, if you play Bridal Fury as a pure, like, Galatine style, right? Like you use like a cleric robe and kind of shit like that, I think you're going to get away with a lot of damage, okay? You're going to get away with a lot of damage. And so it is very, very strong in certain key moments, okay? Now, when looking at the Demon Fang is the one that everybody's using, okay? Everybody is enthralled with Demon Fang. Everybody thinks it's the hottest shit, okay? It's not, okay? At the end of the day, the Q and W don't do much damage, okay? So what they give you is more extra damage for your E, and that's great. Don't get me wrong, that's great. But they don't give you any damage outside of that. So when you run only Demon Fangs in your Zerg, you have a problem where you can never end up killing people with pressure because you only have engages on your 20, 25, 30-second rotations, okay? Now, I have so many people that tell me, but Demon Fang has 20-second cooldown, and it's great damage, and it's so amazing. Okay, listen. How the hell is a Demon Fang going to engage every fucking 20 seconds when every single clumping mechanic in this game is 25 seconds or longer on their cooldown, right? It's not going to happen, especially because the Demon Fang AoE is not that big, okay? It's not small. I'm not saying it's small, but it's not that big. You're only swiping in front of you. You're not swiping all around you, right? It's not a radius. It's even less than a semicircle. It's not even a semicircle. It's like a 40% of a circle. Okay, so the AoE is not very large for the Demon Fang. On top of it, you're gonna because of that, you're gonna have to wait till the enemy actually clumps up people. Okay, however, here are the good things about Demon Fang, okay? One of the good things, and also could be a bad thing, about Demon Fang is that it actually is a 3E combo, okay? The E itself, you can channel it 3 times. You can hit it 3 times, right? The third time, it's going to deal some damage to you, but it's kind of negligible, honestly. It's not that big a deal. Unless it's like a very small scale and you don't have a lot of healers, then I guess you might want to watch that, but it's not a big deal. The 3 E's, if you put all the damage together of the 3 E's on Demon Fang, the damage is pretty high, okay? But it's not super high. Like when you compare the damage of 3 Demon Fang E's versus 1 Brimstone E, the Demon Fang does a little bit, it does like 5% more damage than the Brimstone, okay? If you have like the comparable specs and the comparable escalation damage and yada, 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 okay? The difference, though, is that Demon Fang gets to hit it 3 times. And why is this important? It's because when you hit the Demon Fang 1 time and the enemy goes and has Demon Armor, okay, then you look at your HP and you're like, okay, I can take another hit. So you swipe again and you take another hit and now you're down to like 20% HP. You're like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to hit that third one. I'm just going to walk away. So at least you got some damage off, right? You got 2 of the E's off instead of 3, but it's fine. You got some damage off. And that is actually really useful as a anti-demon armor weapon, okay? Even though it does get reflect very, very minimally kills Demon Fang. Unless the Demon Fang just isn't watching his HP and just kills himself with the 3rd hit. I mean, that's kind of on him, right? So what I'm saying is that Demon Fang is very responsive. You're able to do a lot with it because you have great mobility. And On top of it, you have the E that hits constantly, right? Now, one of the things I tell people with the Demon Fang is that I feel like a lot of people are not using the Demon Fang E properly. If you're going to engage with the caller, engage with the caller 3 times, and that's great. You know, slash, 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 right? You hit all 3, and that's awesome. You did your job. But then after that, as soon as it comes up, and I do mean as soon as it comes up, literally the second it comes up, the first guy you see, swipe him 1 time. Okay, you just hit him 1 time with your E. Why? Because that 1 time E is going to be like what, like 6 seconds? I think something like that, 5 or 6 seconds. And so what you get to do is you swipe in 1 time, and then your cooldown is going to reset after a few seconds, and you're going to be in time for the next engage. Because again, all the clumping weapons are like 25 seconds or longer. So you have those extra few seconds, right? If you don't feel comfortable with it, don't do it. But it does add a significant amount of damage, because if you think about it, every single off cooldown, you're going to be hitting an extra E, right? That's going to add more damage. And then because you don't have a good Q or W for off cooldown pressure, you can use that one E in between engages as a off cooldown pressure mechanic. Okay, so if you're a Demon Fang player and you haven't been using this, try it out. I promise you, I've had people already try it out, and they say it feels really good, it feels really strong, and they enjoy playing it that way, right? But again, I mean, if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. Okay, either way, Demon Fang is strong. It obviously, because that's why it's meta, right? Because it is strong. It is strong. It's just not, my point is that it's not as strong as many other weapons, and that's because other weapons bring other things to the table, right? And so if all you care about is DPS, then sure, Demon Fang is fine. But I promise you, in these slugfests back and forth, 99% of the time, the person that ends up winning, the Zerg that ends up winning, is the one that has better damage over time and better defensives. Okay, so if your Zerg is just a bunch of just pure Demon Fangs that all they do is just hit and that's it, and you don't have anything else in your Zerg that brings utility, like firewalls or maybe Raven Strikes to like have some space and things like that, Spike Gauntlets to delete tanks, then you're going to be at a disadvantage simply because of utility. All right, before we go into the armors, let me catch up here real quick. The meta now sucks. Yo, Andresra, what's up? The meta now sucks. So bored. Only push and push and push. Yeah, so let me drink some water here real quick. Hold on. So Andresra, the reason that all the meta right now is just push is because people don't have another option. Okay, and I don't mean they don't have another option because SBI and the gear and the whatever. No, the reason that they don't have other options is very simple. It's because all people are focusing on is, again, damage, and that's it. They're not focusing on other things. Again, they're not adding brimstones so that they can have some firewalls. They're not adding siege bows so they have some big AoE, area denial, right? They're not adding, kingmakers to make sure they have some off cooldown pressure or Galatines, right? So what they're doing is they're doing it to themselves, is what I'm saying. They're doing it to themselves. The Zergs themselves, because of the way they decide to play, they are forcing themselves to only play push because that's all they can do. Now, here's the thing. The meta gets absolutely destroyed when fighting against kite compositions, okay? When you're fighting against a kite composition, the meta gets completely destroyed. Why? Because this meta is all about push, and kite is meant to stop that, okay? But very, very few Zergs are actually running kite compositions, because to run kite compositions, you're gonna need to run brimstones, you're gonna need to run siege bows, you're gonna need to run those kinds of things, and people don't want to run those because they're so in their heads about, oh, no, that's old, that doesn't work anymore, that blah, 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 blah. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. It's just the shit that they're telling themselves because they just follow the meta blindly. I've talked about this many, many times, and it is annoying, but it's the way it is because of the people themselves. Let What the fuck Noob says, can't even see half of the spells on the floor and get silenced every second. Yeah, that's because everybody's running heavy maces. And the reason everybody's running heavy maces, again, it's because you're inside the enemy all the time. Heavy mace is not as strong if you're playing kite composition, right? Because heavy mace is only strong if you can get inside the enemy. And so essentially, again, all you need to do is kite the fucking enemy. But you can't kite with melee DPS. You just can't. Melee DPS, you have to cut the distance, not gain distance, right? So people don't want to switch back to range because they think it doesn't do enough damage. But it's not about the damage, it's about the utility to be able to play a different way. I promise you, if you make an entire Zerg complete and total kite with icicles, Grail Seekers, Brimstones, I promise you, you're gonna completely wreck the shit out of so many of these full push Zergs, right? All you gotta do is keep kiting them and kill them one by one. But people don't want to kill one by one. They just want to kill, you know, a big 10-man clap because it looks cool, right? It's just the way, it's just the state of the game right now because everybody's following the people at the top. And the people at the top right now are people like Escalation and you know, Sex and Flex does this shit, right? Pora, right? And if you guys don't remember, you know, Pora, Escalation, the way they used to play was not very different from the way that they're playing right now, to be honest. Okay. They tried to do a lot of these kind of push compositions before, but they never worked because the strategy before was kite. And so it was completely countered every time. Okay. But now everybody plays differently. That's why they're doing it different. That's why it actually works now, because everybody's allowing it to work. There's no frontline establishment anymore. Anyway, for the armors, all right, the armors, we got the Cleric Robe. Okay, the Cleric Robe is going to give you a high damage output. It's going to be a strong defensive as well. It also negates Demon Armor if you pop it on time, you pop it appropriately. So it's perfect for Galatine Pair. Not so much Kingmaker, because Kingmaker itself doesn't do as much damage where you're going to be super worried about it, but it can kill you. But Galatine Pair for sure should be running Cleric. If you run Cleric with Realm Breaker, I'm not going to blame you. It's going to do a shitload of damage. You can run Cleric Robe with the Bridal Fury as well, because you get to go in, you clap, and then you jump back, so you're using that safety as well. So Cleric Robe is very, very strong for all those options. Hellion Jacket, in my opinion, is the best one for the majority of these, and that's going to be Kingmaker. It's going to be great because you get to get inside of them and basically do as much damage as you want while you're inside of them. Realm Breaker could use it too, but it's not going to be very useful there. Don't use it with Galatine. That would be a complete waste. Raven Strike, Hellion Jacket, it'll work. Especially because you're going to go in and then clap, and then you're going to have to come out. And usually they're going to try to kill you because they see you channeling this giant ass fucking AoE in their face. So they're going to try to kill you. So Hellion Jacket's going to help you out as a Raven Strike. Spike, you usually want to be near the front, or usually want to be inside the enemy, causing as much damage as you can. And also you have very high mobility, so at least exploit that mobility and stay inside the enemy with that mobility. But staying inside the enemy requires heals, and Hellion Jacket's going to help with that. Demon Fang, Hellion Jacket as well works as well, because Demon Fang, you're going to be inside the enemy very often. Bridal Fury with Hellion Jacket, I don't think it works very well, because Bridal Fury, the E is going to make you jump out of there anyway, right? So that in itself is the defensive. You don't really need the Hellion Jacket with the Bridal Fury. Now, the Stalker Jacket does a very high damage, right? And it's not as good at defensive, obviously, but it, you know, it is leather, so it gives you better defensive than Cleric. But yeah, it's a lot of damage, right? And especially if you're going to be inside the enemy a long time. Like Kingmaker's usually going to be inside the enemy. Spike Gloves is usually going to be inside the enemy, and Demon Fang. So for all those weapons, running Stalker Jacket makes sense. Also, Stalker Jacket is one of those things that takes a high advantage of mobility. So remember those weapons that I was telling you about mobility, right? The gauntlets and the daggers. You want to usually run Stalker Jacket with those. Even Bridal Fury would be fine because you do have that mobility. Okay. So Stalker Jacket, very, very strong. The only problem with Stalker Jacket is that it does get purged, and right now people are running heavy mace more and more. And so Stalker Jacket is becoming less powerful over time as people keep running more heavy mace and life curses. Okay, so just be aware that at some point you're probably going to have to change because the meta is shifting as we speak. Now, I did mention earlier, I was going to talk about the Jacket of Tenacity. I looked at the Jacket of Tenacity, and the damage it does is strong. Okay, it's strong. If you're going to use it on yourself, usually on yourself, and then you get that extra bonus damage, it's going to be strong, and it's going to be usually a comparable damage to a Cleric robe. Okay, but you get the defensive of having a leather armor instead of a cloth. Okay, so comparably, you don't get the invulnerability of the Cleric robe, but you do have a little bit more base defensives because you're wearing leather instead of cloth. And you're getting about the same amount of damage output, except for, I think it's like 10% less, something like that, which is not a huge deal. It really isn't. Because that's 10% added, right? That's not 10% total. So it's 10% added. So it's not a big deal. So Jacket of Tenacity is definitely strong, in my opinion. At the end of the day, though, it doesn't bring much more to the table than just a little bit of extra base defense and some extra damage, right? So if you're thinking about Cleric robe, remember this: the defensive is actually a complete invulnerable. Right now, it's short, but it's a complete invulnerable. The Jacket of Tenacity, it has the defenses of a leather. It's kind of like if you're wearing Stalker jacket, right? Like I said, it's okay on defense, I guess, but it's not going to protect you from a lot of things, especially Jacket of Tenacity. If you're going to use it on yourself, you have a lot of damage, but then you don't have any invulnerability. What's going to happen is if you clap yourself, you're going to end up dead, right? Because you can't protect yourself, so you're going to end up dead. You might want to run the Mistwalker hood with the Jacket of Tenacity just in case. That way you have some form of anti-demon armor, headpiece. All right. For the helmets, now that we're talking about helmets, the Mistwalker hood, like I said, is very strong, especially for burst weapons that can get reflected, because of the fact that way you don't die from fucking demon armor. Okay. However, demon armor, in my opinion, is not as powerful as everybody makes it out to be. It's a deterrent more than a killer. Okay, demon armor is more of a deterrent than a killer, and it's fine. It's good as a deterrent. Don't get me wrong. I'm not shitting on it. But what I'm saying is that there's a lot of ways to go around it, right? Especially now when we have things like the Mistwalker hood, right? That hood just makes you invulnerable to dying. So the demon armor basically is useless against them, unless they don't get a heal, and then okay, whatever. I guess you can die. You can kill them after. But the helmets and boots, other than that, Knight helmet, I added it here before, but now they're changing the Knight helmet and they're taking away the CC resistance boost that it gave you. Knight helmet, unfortunately, I don't think is going to be as important or as useful as it used to be, because that little change they're trying to make to Knight helmet, taking away its CC resistance boost, is actually really, really big. Okay. And I really, really hope they rethink doing that, because Knight helmet as it is, it's not OP. It really isn't. It's not OP. And without that little extra CC resistance, it's gonna be kind of shit. Okay, so I really hope they rethink that. So I wouldn't go with Knight helmet, but you can always run cleanses. Cleanses are never wrong if you want to run like a cleanse hood, but it's not gonna help you out in any shape or form. Other than just don't get stunned, I guess, or rooted. But people like running Stalker hood. Stalker hood gives you 15% more damage, and it's instant, right? Well, it's not completely instant, but it's pretty instant. And so, similar to the Royal Hood, it's going to give you damage increase, but this one is 15%, so it's less than Royal Hood. However, it's very quick, right? You just pop it and then you go, right? So I know a lot of people that run Bridal Fury like to run Stalker Hood because they pop it and then they just go in and clap real quick and come back and they're fine. But Royal Hood is one of the ones that you definitely want to use as a Galatine pair. Okay, Galatine pair, you usually will stack from a distance away, right? You're stacking on one guy, maybe two guys, and stack on those guys, and then when you're ready to go, then that's when you fly in using your Iron Will, so you're not purgeable. As you're walking in, you're using your Royal Hood and it's ticking up, right? And then you go and pop your E on top of their face, and there's nothing they can do. They can't purge literally anything off you, including that Royal Hood. So Royal Hood pairs really, really well with Galatine pair. On that same note, Royal Hood does pair well with Kingmaker. However, Kingmaker's cooldown is so low that you're not really going for that big giant burst, right? You are going for burst, but you're not going for that big fucking hit. Because think about it. Royal Hood is adding percent damage. And so if your damage is high, then the percent damage of that high damage is going to be even higher, right? So let me put it this way. 10% of 100 is 10, right? But if you have 10% of 50, it's only 5, right? So you're only adding 5 more damage versus adding 10 more damage, okay? So essentially what you want to do is the Royal Hood works really well with Galatine, but not really with Kingmaker. It also doesn't really work with anything else. I mean, I guess it can work with things like Bridal Fury, but it's just not as good because, again, you can get purged with the Bridal Fury. You can't get purged with the Galatine because of the Iron Will. And Iron Will is fucking, it's an insane skill. It's an insane skill. For the boots, you might want to run Graveguard boots. They're very strong because you're able to run around the field while being immune to stuns, roots, and slows. The only problem is that it has a very low speed, which isn't a big deal for weapons that we talked about earlier have high mobility, right? So the gauntlets and the daggers, they have high mobility. So we're talking about Bridal Fury, Demon Fang, Spiked, Raven Strike, all of those, okay? Even if you want to use Ursi Maulers or whatever. All of those have high mobility. So you don't need the mobility as much. So you might as well use something that's going to give you invulnerability to stuns, roots, and slows. And that's going to be Graveguard boots, right? Even though it only has 55% move speed, it's still going to be good enough because your mobility as a whole is very high. So you're not going to worry too much about that. But I would not recommend Graveguard boots for things like Galatines or Kingmaker. I would not. Well, actually, Kingmaker maybe, because you're going to be running inside of the enemy very often. So it could work, but definitely not Galatines. For Galatines, though, you might want to run the Mage Sandals, right? Mage Sandals is very, very strong because it's a delayed blink, right? In that blink, you usually want to blink into the enemy while you're casting your E, and then that E is going to pop when you actually, blink somewhere else into the enemy. So we'll look at Blue Dawn doing some of that. It's going to be pretty fucking amazing. But yeah, so Mage Sandals, very, very, very strong for Galatine pair. It also helps you blink out. If you do decide to run in instead of blink in, you can blink out. That's useful. There's also Mercenary Shoes. Mercenary Shoes are very strong because they give you that, that instant, break free. You get to get out of any CC, including Great Arcane. So Mercenary Shoes are very strong. The only problem I have with Mercenary Shoes is that it highly, highly limits your mobility. However, again, if you're running things like Demon Fang, Spiked, or Raven Strike, which have high mobility under Q and W, then you can get away with running Mercenary Shoes as a defensive. I know a lot of people like running Royal Sandals. Royal Sandals is good. Listen, I like 15% damage. It's good. I'm not concerned with the taking 10% damage more or whatever the fuck it is. I'm not concerned with that. I really don't care. 15% damage is good with Royal Sandals. My issue with Royal Sandals is that Royal Sandals, it doesn't have a 30-second cooldown. Okay, it has a 38-second cooldown. What I mean by that is that the cooldown doesn't actually start until you stop channeling the Royal Sandals. Okay, so most people don't stop channeling it. They just run the entire 8 seconds. Okay, and so that means that they actually are running boots that are at 38-second cooldown. That's pretty detrimental, especially when you're considering that most of these weapons are 20-second cooldowns, at least the daggers and the or the Demon Fang, the Spike, the gauntlets, right? And so those weapons, and also Kingmaker, they are 20-second cooldown, and you're gonna have a 38-second sprint. That is pretty detrimental. Now, if you're running a 30-second cooldown, then it's okay. It's not as bad. However, if you're not running things like a pork omelet or a fucking any omelet, Avalonian omelet, whatever, a fucking omelet. If you're not running an omelet to at least reduce cooldowns, then you're still stuck with 30-second E versus 38-second boots that give you 15% more damage. So think about it. You're not going to be able to use that 15% damage every single time you hit your E. You're just not going to. It's not going to be up. It's not going to be ready. Okay. And it also limits your mobility because you have to wait an extra 8 seconds. Okay. To put it in perspective, that's about 21%, something like that. Okay. More cooldown than 30 seconds, than a 30-second E or 30-second boots. So that's what it is for those. I don't really have any other ones. I mean, you can use, I guess, any sprint would work, I guess. Another boot is the, I think they're called Boots of Valor. Boots of Valor is strong. especially if your Zerg happens to go inside the enemy very often. Boots of Valor can be very, very powerful, especially for those scenarios, but you do have to proc it first. Either way, if you proc it though, that move speed is great, and you are invulnerable to stunts, slows, and roots, so that's going to be good as well. All right. Damn, that was a lot. I told you guys we had a shitload to go through. All right. I'm going to give you guys some tips real quick now. Again, if you guys have questions, drop them in the chat right now. I'm going to go through some tips, just a few tips on what you can do and how you should think about these weapons and how you should play these weapons. And then after that, we're gonna end the show with just a few videos here and there. We're not gonna do too much VOD review, again, not too much detail, because you know, we have a time constraint, right? I don't like going over 2 hours. So essentially we're running low on time here because we had so much to talk about. There are a lot of options for melee burst DPS right now, and that's another reason that this is why it's meta, is because melee burst has a lot of options that are good right now. Okay, they have a lot of good options right now. So into the tips. One of the first tips I got to give you guys is you have to be punctual. Okay, you have to be on time. You cannot be late to your engages. Okay, if you are literally 2 or 3 seconds late, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna die. Okay, because you're gonna die to the enemy counter engage. This is also important for ranged DPS as well, but it's more important for melee burst DPS. Why? Because melee burst DPS, you're actually going to be 2-3 seconds late to hitting the clump, which means that you're going to be in the clump 2-3 seconds late, and that's when the enemy counter engages. And where the fuck do you think they're going to counter engage? They're going to counter engage right on top of the bodies, right? So they're going to engage on you. If you're 2 or 3 seconds late, you basically are dead. You might as well go engage a different clump on the flank or something, right? Use your E, do some damage. I'm not saying like just stay back and do nothing and be useless. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you might want to consider not hitting the main clump. That's all I'm saying. If you're 2 to 3 seconds late, you might consider engage like the west side, the east side, some other shit, right? Don't hit down the middle, because you're probably gonna die. Okay. Another tip is all heroes have a sidekick. Okay. Now, what I mean by that is that, listen, sometimes you can be greedy, and this is especially for things like Galatine Pair, okay? Clappers that are like off cooldown, even Kingmaker, okay? Being greedy is okay, but make sure that you're not clapping alone, okay? So let's say the caller says engage north, and you see a juicy fucking clump to the west. That's fine. Go hit that juicy clump by the west, but make sure you're not the only one hitting that juicy clump to the west, because then you're not going to get enough damage onto that clump. Okay, make sure that you see another one of your guys running to the west side and hit that other west clump, then follow him and run in there and clap together. That's going to give you guys a lot higher chance of getting some kills in, or at the minimum do significant damage where the enemy has to step back for a minute to catch on heals, right? So all heroes have a sidekick. Whether you're the sidekick or you're the hero, it doesn't matter. Don't ever be clapping alone, all right? Now, there's a lot of things that go wrong with clapping off cooldown, okay? And that's what I call wasted efforts, right? You put all this effort into doing one big clump, one big hit, right? And then you fuck it up by not hitting where you're supposed to, right? You end up hitting either like a place that like all the enemies are like scattered and there's no real good clump there, or you simply end up hitting by yourself somewhere, right? Like I said, all heroes have a sidekick, right? You end up hitting by yourself and you don't get much done, right? So you have all this effort that you put in. You stacked your fucking Royal Hood, or you came into the front and you dealt with some shit. You threw your fucking throwing blades and everything, and you're about to fucking go and dash into the enemy, kill them or whatever, and then you just don't do anything because you're literally nowhere to be found. You're not hitting what you're supposed to be. Okay, so pay attention. At the same time, don't be overly greedy. All right, don't be overly greedy, because getting 2 or 3 kills is way better than getting 0 kills, right? Shit, getting 1 kill is better than getting no kills, right? So sometimes being a little too greedy is not going to be good for you or your Zerg. Now, remember this, okay? It's not a fucking buffet, all right? When you go in and you clap, don't fucking stay there and be like, I'm going to chase this guy and I'm going to make sure I kill him too. And then I'm going to go and auto attack this other person. I'm going to kill them too. And it's not a fucking buffet, man. go in there, eat, get your fucking kills done, and get the fuck out, right? Don't try to stay there and be like, I want dessert, you know? Because then the dessert is gonna be you fucking dead, all right? So get in there, do your damage, get the fuck out, right? That's for all melee burst DPS, right? Don't overstay. Now, you have to have the eyes of a hawk, right? The eyes of a hawk is basically the hunter, right? The hawk is looking around, trying to hunt for their prey, okay? What I mean by that is I need you guys to watch the enemy movement, okay? Watch what they do. Look at where they go. Look at the location that their Zerg is getting clumped on their own in. And that way, you can also pay attention to who is overexposed. Do they have healers overexposed? Clothies, right? Supports? High-value targets, right? You want to hit those high-value targets. So look at them. Look at them as if you're a fucking hawk. And then when the engage call is done, jump right at them, right? And make sure you get those guys killed. Punish them for their mistakes. But that cannot happen if you're not actively paying attention at all times, right? This is why so many times, so many people are like, oh, you know what? I'm going to loot this real quick, blah, blah, blah. You know what you're doing when you're looting? You're taking your eyes off the enemy. And if you're taking your eyes off the enemy, you're not actually looking at your next engage. And that's a problem, all right? Stay focused and get all the kills first. Then you can fucking loot, do whatever the hell you want to do. All right? Now, distance for you as a melee DPS, okay, distance is useless, okay? In fact, I'll go a step further. Distance is detrimental, okay? It's not good, all right? If you are too far behind your own Zerg because you're like, oh, well, I'm a DPS and I'm scared. Well, guess what? You're fucking melee, okay? So you have to step up. You have to be in the front. I don't care if you're wearing cloth. You chose to wear fucking cloth. Make it happen. Make it work. It's your job to make it work, right? So don't go all the way far back because you're scared because you think, oh, well, I got to stay safe. I'm a clothy. I got to stay safe. Bullshit. You want to stay safe, play fucking ranged, okay? But if you're going to choose to play melee, then you got to get your ass in the front. And then you got to make sure you're looking at the enemy and you're able to hit the enemy. But at the same time, you got to learn how to survive in the front, okay? There are plenty of players who survive in the front, but it's because they learn how to survive in the front little by little, right? And it takes time, takes effort, and you know what? It takes a lot of money, right? Because they're gonna end up losing a lot of sets over time. But that's what you have to do. You'll never get better by staying so far back and being like, yeah, I'm a melee DPS, but I'm gonna stay back here because I'm scared. Then play fucking ranged, okay? You're gonna stay back there, play ranged. You want to play melee? Guess what? You got to step up. All right, so those are the tips, the general tips. All right. Now we're gonna go into the Oh, actually, give me a second. What the fuck noob says, feels bad when that bedrock hits you. Yeah, man. Yeah, that's why I told you guys about Night Helmet earlier, right? Because Night Helmet, it's becoming more important, man. So many people are not running Night Helmet because of that. Bedrocks are becoming more and more used in ZvZs. But yeah, I mean, not enough people are using them yet, so you can still get away with it. But eventually you won't. Now, let's get into the videos here. This is a very old video from Blue Dawn. This is about a year ago, May 15, 2021. So that's almost 2 years ago. All right, this is almost 2 years ago. This was, I think, season 12. I think it's towards the end of season 12. All right, but this is Blue Dawn with Blue Army way back in the day. All right, and we do have comms for these videos, and or at least some of the videos have comms. I don't know if all of them do, but yeah, we're gonna look at this, analyze it. We'll see what happens. All right.
Gabby, go in. Tell me what to go. Tell me what to go.
Here, I'm with Mojo. I'm with Mojo. Right.
All right, so you hear those voices saying, "I'm with Mojo right now. I'm with Mojo." Right. So Mojo's the caller. For those of you that might not know, and this was the time that Del Negro's right there. Del Negro is in this fight. So everybody was together in this time, and the call that is saying, "I'm with Mojo right now." He's basically telling somebody else. He's working with someone else on TeamSpeak. This is Blue Dawn talking to someone else on TeamSpeak. Remember what I told you? Every hero, right, has a sidekick. So, he's talking to his sidekick or his co-hero, all right? I don't want to call him a sidekick because that motherfucker is badass as fuck as well with this kind of shit, all right? I think in this particular clip, The person he's communicating with is King Just. Okay, King Just used to be a clapper. I think he still plays clap sometimes with escalation, but for the most part, I think he calls. And as a caller, I think King Just is a really good caller. But yeah, he doesn't clap as much as he used to. But Blue Dawn and King Just used to clap together all the time, and I think that's who's talking right now.
3, 2, 1.
Well, it's gonna be huge. Can you hit it?
I'm going in.
I need this positive.
See how he's hugging this wall, moving along the west side here? He's hugging the wall, and now he's getting ready. He's stacking his fucking his royal hood, right? He popped his cape. I think he's running the keeper cape or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. The fucking cape that gives you damage. And he's running that. And now he's popped his Iron Will, so now he's unpurgeable. He only has 2 stacks right now. He tried to channel his E. I think he gets it off. I'm not sure.
Okay, it's on Monkey.
Yeah, so he gets it off, right? He does get a bunch of kills, and he only did, I think, 2 stacks with that.
Nice.
No.
Oh, no, that wasn't his stack. Sorry, that wasn't his stack. He probably did have 3. That was the enemy stacks on him.
Nice. Yo, I'm gonna keep pushing.
I hit it.
We smashed them.
All right, so here he's walking southeast. His Zerg is more, enemies are to the south here. His allies are far west. All right, he's moving south. He's already stacked up. And look, he's by himself, right? He's by himself. And look how everybody ignores him. So this Gallatin pair video, right? See how everybody just fucking ignores him? He's stacked up already. 6 stacks on Royal Hood, and he's coming in.
We smashed them here. Yo, I think if you get the wraparound on the...
He pops his cleric robe, right? He checks the guild just to make sure he hasn't been kicked. I don't know. I'm just trolling.
East, they're fucked. They're inside the Terry, and they're...
And then see how he blinks, right? I'm gonna let you guys watch that again, because that's very important for those of you guys trying to learn how to play Gallatin, right?
I hit it.
Wait, hold on. Wrong with it.
We smashed them. We smashed them here.
So look, he's popped his Iron Will, okay?
Yo.
Now, he got put back and instantly goes and pops his Mage Sandals in.
I think if you get the wraparound...
There. He just used the Mage Sandal. Actually, no, I think he used his Cleric Robe first.
The East, they're fucked.
Now he used Mage Sandals, right? So now he just used Mage Sandals over here in the southeast. But see how he's walking away, right? He can walk in there, but he's not going to. He's walking away. Why? Because he wants to fake it to the enemy. He wants to act like, oh, no, I'm not ready to hit you right now. I'm just going to walk away. Don't mind me. Don't pop your demon armors. Don't pop your guardian, sorry, not your guardian, your fucking judicator armors, your defensives. I'm just walking away, right? He's faking it. And then look,
you're inside the Terry.
He starts casting over here, right? He starts casting northwest. He's already halfway through the channel, almost halfway through the channel. And then he blinks all the way because it's the Mage Sandals, it's the delayed blink.
And okay, it's fine. We'll hold you.
Now, how many kills did he get here? I think he got 4.
We'll hold you.
Yeah, he got four kills, right? But let's look at the damage he actually did again. Look at all that damage here. All these fucking people. Look at this guy. This guy got like fucking 40% of his damage chunked, right? This guy more like 25% or so, whatever, right? It doesn't matter that you didn't get all these kills. He got 4 kills. I mean, that's great. I mean, that's fucking great, right? But it doesn't matter. What matters is that he went and basically put all this damage. Look at these guys far west, okay? These guys far west, he didn't hit them. They're already low on HP. Why are they low on HP? Well, because his Zerg, who is far west, is actually engaging on these enemies, and the enemies are desperately trying to make it into the territory. Now, the enemies that got into the territory are like, whoo, I made it. I'm safe, right? I'm safe. I'm good. And Blue Dawn goes and puts damage behind them where they think they're safe. And now suddenly, look at this healer over here. This healer now has to deal with healing all these people, not just the people out there, but all these people as well. So this is the kind of shit that can break Zergs, simply because of the amount of pressure you're putting on the enemy healers to try to catch up on HP.
It's fine. We'll hold you. Listen, they're going to turn... Come north.
All right, so this is a different clip here. So here is Surf to the north, and Squad is to the west here. Squad is Made in BR is here. They're allied, okay? He's in Arch right now. Blue Dawn is in Arch Alliance right now, but he's allied with the guy southwest, okay? So his enemy's north.
Come up the hill to the east. Come up the hill to the east. Come up the hill to the east.
He's stacking on the corner, just hiding, acting like he's not going to do anything. Now he pops his cleric robe and then instantly pops his mage sandals. Exactly the same thing again. He's not going anywhere. He's just there. Let's see what he does. and then he blinks all the way back here. See how he was back here? So the guys over here to the northeast, they weren't expecting this, right? They obviously weren't expecting this. Why? Because, well, this guy was back here, right? This is the power of mage sandals when they're being used with the Galatine pair. All right. Nevermind says blinks don't disrupt channels. Not this one. Not mage sandals. No, not mage sandals.
I think that we're gonna bomb him from on top of the hill. We're gonna go around the hill here.
Look, not a single kill. Not a single kill. But look at what they do. I want you guys to just look. I'm gonna let it play for a couple seconds, and I'm gonna just tell you guys. Look how they're all walking southwest, putting pressure southwest, right? Watch what happens as soon as he claps, even though he doesn't get a single fucking kill.
I think that we're gonna bomb him from on top of the hill. We're gonna go around the hill here. Boys, yo, get up here, get up here, get up.
Look at that. He single-handedly stopped that push, right? By himself, and they're all still half HP. So they're having to back up because they're half HP. They can't step up when they're half HP. They know the main Zerg is going to engage and they're going to get wiped, right? This is the power of off cooldown clapping.
Get up here, boys. On the ping, on the ping, on the ping. They're wasting engage on me, see. They're wasting engage on me, see. Okay, yo, we're going to push from the wall here. Get ready. In 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, we're...
See how he's stacking as the countdown is coming in? Mojo, the caller, is right there, right? So he's still stacking. He's stacking up. He's using his Royal Hood.
We're going in, Arch.
He's rooted to all hell, right? But he still doesn't give a fuck. He has the blink, and the mage sandals goes in.
No, Arch, you're not pushing from the right way. Come back.
And boom, he claps, right? So he mage sandal down south, right? So basically, he's actually engaging with the Zerg right now. He was a little late, sure. He was a little late. I don't blame him, though, because he was rooted and all that shit, right? But he still managed to get all this shit off.
Back.
2, 1, we engage north, boys, before they leave.
You come up northwest.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Northeast now, boys. Northeast now. Everything you got northeast, boys. Everything you got northeast. We're hitting right now.
Look at that. Going far west again, clapping all this group on his own.
Yo, group of 100. Some group of 100.
Come back west. Top off.
I'm stacking on their tanks. Are you stuck?
I'm stuck.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Hit now. Deep, on the stairs.
So there it is again, right? Cleric robe. This time he didn't blink in. He just did it right there.
Hit the stairs. Oh, gee.
So you hear the communication. Hit the stairs, right? They're telling each other, where do I want you to hit? They're clapping together, right? So there's his clap, right? He only got, I think, 1 kill.
It's you. Oh.
I clapped.
And then the second clap comes in and gets the rest of the kills.
Oh, nice.
Smash them once.
And now the rest of the Zerg is engaging, right? Now the rest of the Zerg is going to engage when the enemy's already fucking, like, fucked up from that first, off cooldown clap, right? And that was just 2 people clapping together. That was, I believe that was King Just and Blue Dawn.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Now the rest of the video, I'm gonna just let it play because it's not a long time. But I'm not gonna interrupt because we're running out of time.
I'm gonna hit that choke on the thing.
Oh my god, I got silenced from
I'm playing
the
so badly. I hit it now. Oh my
No
god, dude.
way. Okay.
Yeah, go on the stairs. On the stairs of the back of Terry now. It's gonna be fucking massive. We can hit it. I hit it.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me when you're gonna pull.
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. It's on the center. It's huge. Oh!
Are you ready? On out?
Yeah. I see.
I'm stacking.
Yeah, we go now. Ready? See that?
Let's go.
On the camera. Oh my god, look at the. Oh!
I'm gonna clap it.
Nice. Tower. One tower.
I'm on it.
I hit it. Oh, nice.
Oh my fucking god. Nice.
Ready, southeast. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, hit southeast now. Hit southeast down here. Yo, we're getting a lot of kills. Now listen. Take pressure off our backline. We can't northwest here. Yeah, we have to kite northwest area. Hold this whole area. The full coming in. Yo, we have control of this area. Get ready, boys. Beautiful kiting. In 6. Pop push in the front. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yo, smash the front line again. Smash the whole front line. Look at that shit.
Yo, get ready. 3.
I'm ready.
1. Let's go now. Go now.
That one's with Shaper, so we'll just skip it. He ends up getting a lot of kills, obviously, like he always does at every single one of these. Let me pull up another one here. There's also Blue Dawn. We'll watch some parts of it. This is more recent, okay? So if some of you guys are like, oh, well, that was a long time ago, you can't do that now. Bullshit. Bullshit. This is more recent, although it's still a while ago. I mean, this is when the last home was around, right? So this was still a year ago, all right? But I promise you, like, it's the same shit, man. And I promise you, he's still doing the same thing. How do I know this? Because I you know, when you see escalation fighting, you see fucking Blue Dawn coming up on the highlight reels all the time, right? So he's still doing the same shit. He tries different weapons nowadays, but Galatines is still very strong.
South 4, South 3, 2, 1. Deep south now, deep south now, deep south now. I'm hitting deep south, I'm hitting deep south now. I'm hitting them hard, I'm hitting them. Hit deep south here, deep south here, deep south here. Blow it up, blow it up, blow it up, blow it up. And come northeastern on top of the glass. Okay? Come northeast my things. I hit them hard, I'm pushing.
Look at the amount of people, right? So he clapped from here, right? From where my cursor is, right here. I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, you guys can. So yeah, right there. And then he got this guy all the way over here, including this guy up here. He got some damage on him, but this guy just got clapped all the way from here, right? It's huge, right? It's huge, and that's in every direction. All these guys down here as well.
I hit them hard as fuck. Spread. Give me some.
I'll let you guys see a couple more clips, and then we'll switch on to the next weapon.
I'm paralleling noob south.
Walk over west. He comes on east. Nice shot. Watch the east.
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Outside is big goal.
Okay, walk on east.
Let's go.
You actually
Okay,
I'm fucking live. I don't know. I hate.
Nice shot. He doesn't take west. Okay, walk west.
I think we died.
Look west again.
I might live.
Pull in 5 seconds. Okay, step west. Step up next choke. We're gonna go next choke, right? It's a huge turn spot for us. We need to get here though. Pop routes and come. Pop routes and come. I need help on the boys on the west side. Okay, come to these now. Everybody walks to these now. Okay. We need to make it to that next choke. Everybody walks to these.
See how he's saying we need to make it to the next choke? He needs to buy time. And look at what Blue Dawn's doing here.
The hill. Everybody walks all these up the hill. We need hills on the west side. Okay. We're gonna south of the bottom of the hill soon. Okay?
See that? All that damage, all those kills. I think that'll help buy time, right? So you see how DPS can also help buy time? It's not just the tank's job, right? So anyway, let me move on to the next one. The next one is going to be a video with the Kingmaker, and that's going to be with Lolly, all right?
My niggas militant, shoot all the options, we no witnesses, shoot up the spot, let's put up the block, but let's forget that.
Yeah, we are. Itzy, go. Yo, come up.
All right, so let's look at his kit here. He's got a Scholar Cowl for the mana, and I forgot to mention the Scholar Cowl. It actually is pretty important for the Kingmaker because you end up using mana quite a bit. Okay, so Scholar Cowl is important. He's running Royal Sandals. He's running the Hellion Jacket. He's got the Q and the W, the Iron Will and the W, and the EOS. He's also I don't know what food he's running. I think that's a beef stew, but I'm not 100% sure. It's a stew of some kind. And resistance potions.
The hardest. Look east. 3, 2, 1. Hardy's now, boys. Oh my god. Hardy's now. Yo, hit the east, Izzy.
You see all that damage? Look at this. Look at that damage. Now, it was pierced, obviously. It was pierced, right? But look at that fucking massive damage. Why? Like, watch this shit again.
Hardy's now. Yo, hit the east.
So here he's used his E, right? And he's actually knocking all these guys up. All right, he's knocking all these people up. And then that's the clap. Right? I'm telling you guys, it's fucking amazing. It's amazing damage.
Yo, we just hit them, sir. No, east. Oh, yeah.
Look, he's inside the enemy. He's popping his Scholar Cowl for the mana, but also because it gives you a defense, right? His mana is full. He doesn't care about that. He's looking for the defense right now, and that also helps as a defensive.
Yeah, it is. Go north. Yeah. Listen, NC, western around. Go west. NC, go west. Go west. Yeah.
Look at this, right? Remember I told you, enemies clump on their own, right? Sarge, the caller, is over there on the east, and he's coming in from the east, and the enemy clumps here on the west. He's by himself, and watch the damage he's gonna do.
The west, yo, hold this right here.
There it is, right? That's the knock up, and then it's gonna be the big hit, right?
Are they going
That's by himself. That's no pierce. That damage you're seeing literally right now is by himself, no fucking pierce. Okay? When people tell me Kingmaker is not that strong as a burst weapon, show them this fucking video. Right? The only shit he has is the stew, which I think it's a beef stew. Alright? And Royal Sandals. Because everything else is fucking normal. Right? Like there's nothing like no extra damage boost. Right? I guess he's overcharged, whatever, you know? Okay. Tell me how many fucking people don't come out in 8-3, 8-4 nowadays. Okay, so it's like, whatever. And I'll tell you, he's not running 8-3, 8-4 right now. I think this guy right now usually runs 8-1, 8-2. Sometimes he does run 8-3. But either way, this damage is massive. Right? It's absolutely fucking massive. Look at that, they just finished off the kills for him. Look at that cooldown, right? They just stabilized and they're coming back up. Look at his cooldown, 6 seconds out only. Because that's a low cooldown.
Yo, NZ, I'm on the fin, Terry, on the tower. Come, please. Yo, look on the west, NZ. Yo, I'm shooting them, pop your pots. We're gonna go west in 3, 2, 1, go west out to the choke. West out to the...
And now he's gonna clap on cooldown, right? If it wasn't for that knock, the fucking I think he got pulled back or something. If it wasn't for that, he would have had that clap on time.
West out of the front of the choke.
Even then, though, he gets to the clump. Look at this. Dead. Right? A brimstone and him deleted everything.
Now get all these guys. NZ, can you come in and help me? Hit west.
See how he constantly goes and uses Qs and Ws? Like, well, the W is just the iron will, but the Q, right? He constantly keeps using Qs. Right? That's super, super important, right? Because it actually puts out a lot of damage over time.
Yo, 3 to the northwest, 2, 1, southwest down. Oh my god, southwest down. Oh my god, on the road, it's so many. 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 I'm hitting them hard.
Look at that. He's finding a different angle. He doesn't just go straight northwest, right? He's going to the flank, going straight southwest, finding the edge of his Zerg, and that's where he's gonna hit.
And go northeast, go northeast, go northeast, go northeast. Listen, I need full disengage on these.
Look at that. He just got all this group. They're not clumped. I mean, not by like an engaged clump. Like, you know, they're just clumped on their own. It's just general movement, general mobility. He comes in,
full disengage. I'm going northeast. Good cap.
Gets some kills, gets some damage, moves on.
Yo, stabilize here. NZ, did you go cooldowns there?
So anyway, that's my point, right? I mean, this video is 8 minutes long. We're not going to watch more of it because we got the other weapons to get through. But that's my point, right? Kingmaker is very, very strong. It's very powerful. So many people don't think it is. Why? Because it's not in the full-blown meta yet. But this is the shit that I tell you guys over and over and over and over, man. Like, you guys just gotta get out of that loop of just following what the fuck the meta tells you to fucking wear and start realizing that there are other options that are really, really good. Now, this is gonna be a Realm Breaker video. This is with Last Warn, so this is some time ago. Tell me fucking Realm Breaker doesn't do damage. Tell me Realm Breaker doesn't do damage. Come on, man.
Puta que pariu.
Now, right there, he didn't do too much damage. That was mostly him, the allies. I gotta put it forward because he does this thing with like, it's the whole intro, right? All right, there we go. All right, there we go. Look at that. He's getting the fucking kills. 100-0. 100-0. Look at this. Some of them, right? There's no damage coming in. There's a brimstone, but that's casting. That's not actually casted. This permafrost is gonna hit right after him, right? And he's already getting the fucking kills. Look at that fucking mobility. Look how quick he just runs through shit and then jumps to where he needs to be. Watch this shit again. See that fucking damage? I'm telling you guys, man, this is still doable. This is still doable. I get people telling me all the time, oh, well, it's not doable anymore. It used to be, but not anymore. Oh, it used to be good, now it's not. No, man, it's still strong. They only reduced 20% to 15%. It's not that big a deal, I promise you. I promise you it's not that big a deal, right? Because the damage itself wasn't changed. So that bar that you see going down like that part has not changed. Okay, it's the metric that changed, but it's not the bar. Like the fucking the loss of HP has not changed. And that was what I think he was wearing Judicator armor in that one actually. He still did a lot of damage. There it is again. Like, that's massive damage, man. Like, you can't tell me you're looking at these things and in every single one of these clips, you're going to make the excuse that, oh, somebody else hit it. No. I mean, I'm not saying all of this chunk is his own damage, but I'm saying that at least half of it is definitely for him, right? There are other people that are not getting hit as hard. That's probably because these are tanks, right? And they probably have resistances on them. Okay, maybe they have a resist pot, things like that, right? But essentially, these ones that are getting fucking deleted, yeah, like that's most of it his damage. See that damage again? I'm gonna stop it where it needs to be. That's all his damage. Literally no one else damage. Okay? So anyway, that's my point on Realm Breaker. Alright, so when people tell you, like earlier we had a discussion, right? Realm Breaker doesn't do that much damage. Well, I mean, just look at the videos. Look at the footage. Look at the footage. Alright, this one's Chaotic Tuna with Escalation. This was about 9 months ago. This is a Raven Strike. Now, I know that Raven Strike got changed a little bit here and there. So there are some differences here. Either way, though, it's still... Look, I want you guys to look at the argument I gave you guys, right? The argument I gave you guys for Raven Strike was that it was an area denial weapon, right? It made people kind of walk away from certain areas. Not entirely, but at least some. So let's see what happens here.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, deep south, deep south.
Trying to run over around.
Well, here, I mean, they couldn't even see it, right? This was just a big fuck fest. But look at the damage, right? Because he's able to hit that entire fucking area. So his ring is like this fucking big, right? So it's like, it's gonna hit all these fucking people around him. Look at that. It's all the way out here right now. Right? This shit's massive.
Yo, ref, you gotta push the northeast. Push the northeast, ref. Push the northeast. Keep running over southeast, boys.
They're cutting hard northeast.
You gotta push southeast. Yo, push northeast, ref. Push northeast.
We're going up the hill.
Get ready. Yo, get ready.
Now I'm gonna mute it because Del Negro sometimes says some non-TOS friendly words, and I didn't rewatch this video recently, so I don't remember if I checked it for any of those fun words. All right, so I'm gonna have to mute it. So look at that mobility, right? Remember I told you guys about that mobility? He's able to jump in and out very quickly. It's not very good for, you know, engaging over time, damage over time. It's not very good for that. But look at that mobility, right? He jumps in, he jumps out as quickly as he can, and he's right at the front again, right? He gets stuck in a root. He uses a Q to jump out of it. Beautiful, right? Now he's gonna walk in. He's channeling his weapon, and he popped his E. Now the damage wasn't huge there, right? And that's what a lot of people have a problem with Raven Strike, okay? Is that the damage isn't huge. And you're right, the damage isn't huge, right? But I'm telling you, like, it's because it brings something else to the table, and that something else is going to be the area denial, right? But in a fight like this that is so kind of clusterfucked, then the area denial is not really being used too much, okay? This is why I go back and forth with this weapon. I'm not gonna swear to you that this weapon is great. Like Kingmaker. Like Kingmaker, I'll tell you, it's fucking amazing, right? But this weapon is more hit or miss. It really is. And it really does depend on who's using it. Now, Chaotic Tuna is a really good player. So it's in good hands right now, and he's obviously doing work. All right, but at the end of the day, you can only do so much with the weapons that you have. All right, let's look at another video here. Let's look at Demon Fang. And with Demon Fang, we're going to take a look at a video for MGM2. MGM2 is an escalation. And this is also from, this is back in December. Against Mythos. The hype guild that lasted 3 weeks. All right.
Monta. Solta isso. Monta, solta isso. Yo, watch the bomb squads, okay? Walk northeast here. I think by the road. We're there. Ping. Walk southwest. Kill those mobs behind us. Kill some doubles of those mobs behind us. They're northeast of us, okay? Walk in. Party southeast, okay? Just first southeast. Walking southeast. Up the hill southeast. Yo, just the first part northeast in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Just the first part northeast. Yo, hit northeast. Just the first part northeast. Hold. Walk a little bit southwest. Give me lock on the front line. Walk back southwest. Help each other. Hold. Walk west again. Heels up. Yo, walk southeast here.
See how he's taking that west angle as much as possible, right? He doesn't want to be in the middle. He wants to be on the flanks as much as possible. That's very important for positioning.
Yo, everyone else. Yo, give me those locks. Full defense now.
See that fucking siege bowl? Like almost the entire screen away from him, just ticking at him. It chunked them all the way half HP. This was back in December. And people argue, man. They're like, siege bowl's not that good. You guys are crazy, man.
Yo, northeast to go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Dip northeast to go. Yo, different line. Watch the southeast. Yo, walking southeast now.
Now there, he kind of got fucked. All right, let's move on to. There's a better part in this video somewhere. Hold on.
Full defenses now. Give us long by northeast. 5, 4, 3.
All right, so here he's coming in, right? He's running in with his Graveguard boots. He's gonna use his throwing blades in a second, and then he's gonna run in, use his E while he's also using his Stalker Jacket.
2, 1. The rest of the second.
There's his Stalker Jacket, his throwing blades. He's running in. He's inside of the enemy. He's doing damage with his Stalker Jacket, and now it's time for his E.
No, the rest of the second. Send this northeast.
1, 2, 3, pop, and now he's gonna start to stay inside the enemy until his jacket turns off. Actually, he didn't wait. I don't know why. He should have stayed in there. If I was him, I would have stayed in there. There was no reason for him to back up. And then he can channel his Assassin Hood. I don't like Assassin Hood. You guys know this by now. I don't like Assassin Hood. There's no reason you should wear it. But hell, if you're gonna wear it, you might as well use it, right?
Help each other. Keep the pressure. Walking northwest now.
Also on the west side.
Walking northwest and help each other. Look north. Walking, help each other. Help each other.
There's some on the west though.
Yo, northwest.
See that mobility with the Q? He got into this ring, it slowed him down, and he jumped out of it with the Q. That's really good usage of that Q mobility.
We go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sending northwest now.
Throwing blades out. Stalker Jacket on.
Northwest now.
And then the E pop, right?
Northwest now. Help each other now. Droppers use popper bolts and catch.
Same thing. Now he uses his Q to dash out of the clump and get out of the clump, because that's probably going to be where the enemy re-engages. If they do re-engage, they don't. They just back up, and then they just end up dying little by little. So that's the end of that video. Again, we're running out of time, so I'm just running through them. We have seen a lot of videos with Demon Fang, though. If you're interested more on Demon Fang play, I believe it was VOD review 1 or 2. I can't remember. It was one of the first 2 VOD reviews that we did. We actually reviewed one of NGM videos, and we were looking at how he played as Demon Fang. We looked at the good things and the bad things, and so there's that. Now this video is Bridal Fury, and I'm definitely turning this one off because I do not remember this one at all. I'm turning off the sound, that's what I mean. Oh, it's M3R, hold on.
Bolsa, aparte de Norwest, en 5.
Oh yeah, no, this one's good, Drake is fine.
1, I'm killing them, okay?
See that? Look at that clap, man. See how quick he just jumps in? Like, he just jumps in, does his shit, and then he's safe. He jumps back and he's safe. Watch this.
Bolsa, aparte de Norwest, en 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I'm killing them.
Now, he's a little late. He should have popped his boots a little earlier, right? But whatever, I don't care about him being late. I care if he ends up hitting the clump right now.
Okay.
There's a little bit of damage. You see a little bit of ticks on people. Then he gets there. And then suddenly, there's no more clump. Right? Again, people tell me Bridal is not good. And then I see these fucking videos. I don't know what to tell you, man. And he's not wearing anything fancy. Like, he's not wearing royal hood or some shit. He's not being beamed, right? He's just fucking royal sandals, cleric robe popped, and fucking, what is that? Eel, whatever. I can't remember what it's called, man. I don't remember all the names of the foods. There's so many foods nowadays.
Bueno. Y salimos ahora. A la plaza central. Aguantamos, vamos entrando, escarabajos encima ya, hacia norte, y stopéis este, en 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, full en el norte.
See, the caller's counting down and he keeps running south. I don't like that, right? So I got to point that out. That is not good. The caller's counting down, you run northeast. Stop being so scared. He had his resistance spot. Just run northeast and pop your resistance spot as you're walking northeast. There's no reason for you to loop south here. All right, don't waste time. The caller's calling for an engage. Get ready for that fucking engage. Like I said, if you're gonna play melee DPS, you gotta be out in the fucking front, right? You gotta expose yourself. You gotta put yourself in danger. Don't play like he's playing right now. I'm just showing you for the weapon, right? But I'm just letting you know, like, the positioning issues that a lot of melee DPS do have, and it's because you guys play too far back. You're too scared. You want to play far back. You want to be scared, then play ranged. All right, melee DPS is not for the people that are too scared or fucking faint of heart or some shit. All right, like you just gotta get in there.
Full en el norte. Entráis dentro.
There's the clap. I don't even think he got much though.
Entráis dentro, hacia la torre, hacia el northwest.
I think most of the clap was on the east side.
Northwest. Vale, preparaos cooldown, necesito reiniciar cooldown. Vale, escarabajos encima del Altair, vale.
So he resets it?
Vale. Estamos bien. Preparaos hacia el Altair, Stoppers mirando sur. Defensivos ahora. Full en el norte, full deep en el norte. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, full deep en el norte. Entráis todos.
Look at that clap. Look at that fucking clap, man. This is insane.
2, 1, full deep en el norte.
There it is. Right, now the damage down here is not him, obviously. It's just the damage here, okay? It's just the damage here. But look at this guy. That's a 50% of his HP chunked. That's about 35-40% of his HP chunked, right? These guys, same thing, okay? Again, people tell me Bridled is not very strong, but then you look at this shit, and this is why. Bridled is strong when you're wearing Cleric Robe with it. Why? Because it has 75% focus, fire, resilience, right? The resilience penetration. And that is the highest amount of resilience penetration you get. Plus, if you play it with a Cleric Robe, you're also getting the benefit of playing a melee weapon, but you're getting the benefit of the strength of the extra DPS boost that you get from playing a ranged weapon with like a Cleric Robe, right? The Bridal Fury has a lot of extra damage when you play it with a Cleric Robe. It has a ton, okay? And we talked a little bit about it in one of the episodes. I think it was episode 12. It was the episode with we were talking about ZvZ mechanics, okay? And so this is my argument with Bridal Fury. It's strong. People just have to look past the stupid shit that is in the meta that everybody's just like, no, this, and that's it. Nothing else. You guys have to expand your brain, man. Allow more things, all right? So that's it. We're done. Let me switch back here. We're done. We got a minute and a half to spare. All right, so we gotta close it up. We gotta close up shop. All right. You guys have any questions at all? Drop them in the chat right now. Otherwise, we're gonna close it up. Again, if you weren't here in the beginning, I'm gonna announce it again. I do not have an episode tomorrow. There is no episode tomorrow. Class is canceled tomorrow. All right. I got a family event that I'm going to. So I will not be there tomorrow. However, Monday we will be continuing episode 18. Saturday we'll do episode 19, which is going to be the healer episode, and then that's Friday, and then Saturday next week, so it is a week and a day from now, we're going to be doing episode 20, and that's not in the schedule, but episode 20 is supports, and that's going to be the last episode for this series. Okay, so we're almost done with this series, and then we're going to go into some other things before we get into another series. And the next series we're going to do is going to be about a month and a half from now. And that next series is going to be the calling styles series, right? Where we're going to be looking at each individual calling style. But in between then and now, we're going to be finishing up the series. And then we're going to get into some other things like talking about terrain features and stuff like that. Here, I got the schedule here. So yeah, we're going to talk about pressure, how to exert pressure on the enemy, things like that. We're going to talk about terrain and how to use terrain. the ZvZ flow, like the back and forth of fighting, the general things, tactics, stuff like that. So those are the things that are coming up. Let me read the chat here real quick. What the fuck Noob says, giant, so Gigantify or Resistance Potion. I always use Gigantify, but here's the problem with Gigantify. Gigantify reduces all HP, all heals received by 50%. Okay, I'm not gonna go too far into why or how, because I will have an episode on food and pots and offhands. Okay, there's an episode on all three of those, and that's coming later. But yeah, we'll get into that later. But essentially, Gigantify reduces heals by 50% effectively. Okay, so because of that, Gigantify is actually stronger as a defensive than Resistance Potion. Resistance Potion on average only gives you about 30% reduced damage onto you. Okay, forget about what you say. Oh, so it's 50% defense. The math is wrong on that. Like it's not actually 50% defense. Okay, it's not how you think. The math is weird. And I'll talk about it in that episode, but that's way later. For now, just know that Resistance Potion actually only reduces the damage that you take about 30%, whereas Gigantify reduces the damage that you take by about 55%. Okay. However, Gigantify also reduces the heals you receive by about 55%. So for me personally, I always run Gigantify because I prefer the extra defense. But you cannot run the entire Zerg on Gigantify. Otherwise, your entire Zerg will be in severe lack of heals. Okay. So that's the back and forth between Respot and Gigantify. Nevermind says, will you ever run out of material? I mean, I guess eventually, right? You need to rerun defensive tanks again. Why? You didn't like the episode? Or did I miss something? If I missed something, let me know. Let me know. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep going back to certain things. Disengage tanks. Yeah. Do you think I missed something, or do you think that that you want more information on it? What do you like? What are you kind of saying here? Because as for will I ever run out of material, I mean, eventually, probably, right? But at the end of the day, there's just so many different things to talk about. There's so many different things to learn. But the problem with it is that eventually all the things that I want to talk about are going to have been talked about, right? So that will happen at some point. So essentially, we will end up talking about the same things over and over at some point. Here's the thing, though. Metas change. And SBI changes weapons all the time, changes gear all the time. And so because of that, I don't expect to actually fully run out of topics, because even though we went over like disengage tanks like you're talking about right now, right? We went over disengage tanks at some point. If, you know, a year from now, disengage tank might be a completely different role, right? It might actually look completely different. We might actually be talking about like, I don't know, fucking Doomhammer or something, right? Shit, I don't know. Like, all I'm saying is like, the disengage tank role might shift significantly in the next year, right? Now, by that, I don't mean that like the entire role itself and the way you play it and the general aspects of it are going to change. I mostly mean like the style that is being played and the weapons and gear that is being played. And so there's always going to be those things to go over. I know right now there are some changes that are happening, like the Mace Q. They're adding the CC resistance thing that the Night Helm has. They're basically taking it out of the Night Helm and they're adding it to the first Mace Q. Now, I will say that I think that first Mace Q is actually going to be pretty useful. It's going to be pretty strong. The resistance that it gives is decent, and then you're also going to give CC resistance that's going to be strong. So I expect, especially Oath Keepers would be perfect to use that instead of Silence Pool. Although Silence Pool is good, but I think it's gonna make it much stronger. So anyway, all right. Any last questions? I'll give you guys about 30 seconds before I shut it down. Any last questions, comments, concerns? Drop them in right now. Make sure you guys follow if you like the content. Subscribe if you want to. Like I said before, you don't have to. The content is free, but I do appreciate it for sure. All right, no questions. All right, again, no episode tomorrow. The next episode is going to be episode 18, and we're going to do that on Monday. So I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
I'll do whatever now. Ain't got no time to fight. I'm talking way too loud. And if you don't like the sound, you could just tune it out. Who you